Hey everybody, it's Randy with Cummings & Company Realtors. Just excuse me for 1 second while I play with the ever-loving settings of Facebook Live to flip this around so that you can read it. So they always change where everything is at on me. Gotta go in here to the tools, flip this around. Now my right eye is my left eye, and my left eye is my right eye, but now you can read the board. And it's nice and bright in here, and it's almost blinding. Welcome to today's lesson. Today's lesson is about getting out of debt, buying a house, which is what we want you all to do. But it seems a little bit self-serving, and of course it is, because I know if you get out of debt, then you'll be a lot more eligible to buy a house. But let's be honest. If you have bad credit or you have tons of debt, it is harder to buy a house. So what I want to do is kind of give you a quick little education today. And I just want to give credit where credit is due. The lenders that I work with are awesome. They will walk you through this process and pinpoint it directly to you. I don't know if I can click off on this now to get rid of the settings. There we go. So they are awesome, and they will pinpoint this to you. They will look at your credit. They'll pull your credit. They will look at exactly what's going on and give you a step-by-step plan for getting your credit in good shape and getting everything ready to go. What I'm going to do is kind of give you the background, the overview. This is going to be for everybody. Anyone could apply this thinking. Some people don't like to have people messing around with their credit. I'm like as type A when it comes to my money as can be. And a good friend of mine in the credit business and we sat down for hours one time, and I had my credit pulled a couple of times just so I could do a research project to help everybody with finding their credit and using it wisely and everything. So I think you need to be stingy with it as far as other companies go, but when you're looking to buy a house, let a professional help you. But this is for the people that are the do-it-yourselfers, and I know there are a lot of people out there like that. I only like to do things when I know what I'm doing. So let me help you with knowing what you're doing. First thing we're going to talk about is credit in blue. It's just in blue because that was the marker I had in my hand at the time. There are 5 things that influence your credit score, and I really think it's important for everybody to understand what these 5 things are. I'm going to start with the biggest part of the circle, work my way around to the smallest. So the first thing is 35% is your payment history. So more than a third of your credit score is based upon the fact of whether or not you pay your bills on time. So there's no better way to build new credit, get good credit, improve old credit, however you want to word it, than just paying your bills on time. You can't go back in history and undo. You can't right the wrongs that you've done in the past and paid someone late or this or that or the other, but you can start now paying your bills on time and everything. The next one, that's kind of an obvious one. The next one is 30%, and this is the amount that you owe. This is a really important one, and this one's a little bit tricky, and this is the one where you need to dig down into your own personal finances and get a feel for what's going on with that. But with the, it really distracts me when people type stuff in while I'm doing it. I have to let go of that. So the amount you owe. So for example, just in the very most easiest example possible, if you have a $1,000 credit card, $1,000 limit, and you have $900 on that credit card, and it pretty much is always $900. You pay it down a little bit. Sometimes it's $800, sometimes it's $950, but it is around that. The credit card companies are going to look at that and they're like, of the available credit that you have, you're using 90% of it. This person really doesn't have much more room to spend money. And that might be an accurate appraisal of them, or it might not be one. But the reality is that's what they think. Just like if you're wearing a certain outfit going down the street and people think a certain thing of you. It may not be accurate, but it's what they think, and it's their perception, and it's the bank's perception, and they're the ones that are loaning you the money, so they get to make the rules. So The general rule of thumb there is that you want to keep your used credit at 30%, 30, or less of what you have available to you. So let's take it to a more realistic level. Let's say you have $8,000 worth of credit. Hey, Kim. Available to you. If you have $8,000 worth of credit available to you and you want to follow this rule, you want to keep your total balances under $2,400. Okay, you do want to use it. It's great if you have credit cards that you never use. Obviously, that's ideal. But if you're looking to build your credit, use it, pay it off. Sometimes let the balance roll a little bit. Do whatever, but keep it under the 30%. That tells them that you're using your credit wisely and that you have an appropriate amount. Hey, everybody that's checking us out. Talking about credit and everything. So what we have talked about so far is 35% is the history. 30% is the amount you owe. And of course, you can always go back and watch this from the beginning. So that's 65% right there. That's most of it, okay? The rest of it is important as well, but it counts for a lot less. 15% is the time. How long have you had this account? And this is the one that I think is the most misunderstood by normal bill-paying, loving people all around the universe. When you are making your payments on time, month after month after month after month, you're building a credit history. When you go and you cancel that credit card because you no longer need it, but you've had it for 30 years, you're actually getting rid of a big chunk of your time component because you have a great 30-year history, or whatever it might be, 5-year history, with paying that credit card on time. And that is actually helping your credit score, while other things might be hurting your credit score. So you're going to get rid of the one that's helping you, and you're going to keep, because you have to, keep the one that's hurting you. When you look at it that way, you're like, oh yeah, I wouldn't want to do that, Randy. So the reality is, when you have these old JCPenney credit cards, or, to date myself even further, Montgomery Ward credit cards, or, any other companies, if they even have their credit cards, you don't want to cancel those things. Just lock them up in the safe, and as long as you're not paying a monthly fee on them or a yearly fee or something like that, just keep them, because how long you've had your credit helps you. That's why 18-year-olds don't generally buy houses, although some of them do. We started our 17-year-old out with a credit card, carefully monitored, and made sure that he's starting to build credit. The next thing he'll do is get a car loan to build a little bit of credit. It's baby steps. Next is new credit opened, 10%. Obviously, I can't write the whole thing here for space. I want you guys to be able to see it. So 10% is new. So 10% of your credit is how much of it is new credit. So if you're never generating new credit, this is something that's never going to grow. That's why a lot of people have awesome credit. I've got some people come in here and they're very impressed with their own credit. They come in with their portfolio and they're like, I've got excellent credit. I've got an 820 credit score. And the reason they never get that last 10% is because they've had awesome, perfect credit forever, and they've never opened up anything new, okay? The last thing, 10%, is the type of credit. This one's kind of, painfully obvious. Mortgages count more than cars, which count more than credit cards, which count more than like Visa, MasterCard, count more than a JCPenney's. JCPenney's is getting a lot of plugs here today. Or Kohl's, or any other places that you might find me in. The type of credit that you have. So someone who has a mortgage, ironically, is going to have a lot better credit than someone who doesn't have a mortgage. When I sold a house, 15 years ago or whatever it was, my credit actually dropped about 50 or 60 points because I didn't have a mortgage anymore, because I had a $300,000 credit line that just disappeared. So it can go down and it can be affected by that. So this is how your credit score is made up. I think it's really important that you understand and be able to prioritize. One of the major mistakes that people make when they're fixing their credit is they don't add new credit while they're repairing the old credit. And the other mistake that people make is they do things that they think are intuitive. They think they make sense to you, and they may make sense, and I may agree with you. Oh, it totally makes sense to cancel your credit card, cut it up, and throw it away, but it's not going to help your credit. If buying a house is in your end game goal, or getting a good rate on your house is an end game goal, then you definitely need to follow these rules, and until they change, don't try to beat the system, just go with the system. Next thing I want to talk about is actually paying off your debt. And I want to highlight this thing called the snowball effect. So if you can't see it, sorry, my green marker is fading a little bit. The snowball effect is paying off your loans in a way that is internally gratifying to you, okay? So what you do, and there's two different schools of argument. There's the method that Dave Ramsey has made popular, and then there's the method that probably economists and people that are into economics and finances and interest rates and stuff like that have made popular as well. So I'll start with the more simpler one, the Dave Ramsey one, which I'm sure other people get credit for as well. So in the snowball effect, what you do is you take your loans, let's say they're $5,000 credit card, $10,000 student loan, and this one's funny, but actually true, and we see it a lot. Your $3,000 Comcast bill, and yes, people do have $3,000 Comcast bills. They like their TV, but they don't like paying for it. I don't know how that gets that way, but whatever the case may be. So this was a credit card, student loan, and Comcast. Okay, so in snowball effect plan number one, what you do is you make payments, the regular monthly payment on all of these every month, because you want to be on time. You want to have a good history, okay? You want to maintain all of those things. So you pay everything on time. That is, goes without saying. But what you do is you take the smallest one and you put extra money. That's a dollar sign. Hopefully that shows up. You put extra money towards it. So you add a little bit extra towards that. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, that you have enough to cover your bills and you have an extra $100 every month. So maybe this is $100, maybe this is $200, or maybe this is $100, $400, and you have $500 to spend. So you take your little bit of extra and you pay it down towards this one. Does anybody know why you're paying it down towards this one? You're paying it down towards this one because this is going to be the first one that you're going to be able to pay off. It has this has one of the highest success rates as a plan because it gives you feedback. It gives you that pat on the back, attaboy, as quick as possible, because you're going to get this one paid off. Let's change to a different color for a second. You're going to get this one paid off, okay? Then you're going to take the money that you were paying on this every month, and you're going to take the extra money that you were paying on this every month, and you're going to snowball it. Little snowball, turn it into the big snowball. You're going to take all this money, and you're going to put it here, and you're going to start knocking down at that $5,000, all the while paying the minimum, and you're going to start knocking it down. Then you get rid of the $5,000, and you take the extra. You take how much you were paying on this every month, the extra, how much you were paying on this every month, and you can see now you have a large snowball, and it's getting demolished very quickly. So if you have any questions about any of this, obviously please feel free to reach out to me. I love explaining this stuff ironically to people. I think whatever helps you helps me. What goes around comes around. So this is a great way of doing it. It's a great way of getting some immediate feedback, like those biomechanical things where you're like when you go and you get your blood pressure checked at the pharmacy, and the kids are running around you, and you send your kids to go get into another aisle, and you calm yourself down. You can actually lower your own blood pressure a little bit. But the reality is this method will give you feedback the fastest. Some people would say, and they'd be right, that this is a foolish way of doing it, because why give yourself feedback? Why not do something that's actually better for you? Well, They have a point. So I'm going to add to this because I just realized I don't have any eraser in here. So good planning on my part. So let's go back to the original 3,000, the 10,000, and the 5,000. What I'm going to do here is add one extra element to it. I'm going to add the rates that each one of these things is charging. So let's say that this is 20% interest, which it very well could be if it's a credit card. Let's say that this is 7.8% interest, and let's say that this is 2% interest. So this is another snowball effect. The only difference, and you work it the same way, the only difference is you prioritize by which one has the highest interest rate. Because in the long run, if you figure out how much interest you're paying, this plan will get you paid off the fastest. It's not as immediately gratifying because a lot of times the bigger chunks of money will have smaller interest rates, so you'll actually pay them off last. So sometimes if you need that external motivation to keep moving, then go with plan one. If you're an economist, if you like Excel spreadsheets and you like seeing how much interest you're paying or how much interest you're not paying, then this is the way to go. So in this plan, the only difference is we would pay off the $3,000 first, which is ironically the same thing. Then we would go to the $10,000 one because it has the 7.8% interest rate, and then the last one would be the $5,000 bill, which is 20%. Again, all the while making normal minimum monthly payments, but taking all of our extra money and putting it in there. From the highest interest rate one first to the, it goes in this order. Duh, I just said that wrong. Stage fright. So 20% would be paid off first, 7.8 would be paid off second, and ironically the lowest amount one, because it's only 2%, would be paid last, and that's just because you want to pay off the one with the highest interest rate. If you were to actually make a chart of how much money you're paying in interest every month, this method will make the most sense to you. But this is for the highly organized. If you're not highly organized, then go with the other plan, because the other plan has a much higher success rate actually. Last thing I want to talk about is forward thinking, okay? And this is mainly establishing good credit. Okay, two things I want to emphasize. You definitely should talk with a lender. You definitely should have a plan. If you're buying a house, talk with a lender. If you're not buying a house, then it doesn't make much sense to talk with a lender. But you should think about establishing good credit while you're getting rid of the bad credit. And the reason I want you to talk with a lender when you're doing that is because it gets a little bit more tricky, but there are some things that you should not touch. Old collections, for example, if you all of a sudden pay them off, then they become current on your credit report, and they can actually hurt your credit because then they become a new thing again, but it's a negative new thing, not a positive new thing. So you should definitely watch what you're paying off and stuff like that. If you need help, ask for professional help. Beyond me, the lenders have these ways of predicting what different things will happen with your credit. But establishing good credit. So this is for our young people that don't have a lot of credit. What you need to do is establish some, and you need to establish it in a responsible way. And if you don't have credit, I have no doubt that you are going to establish it in a responsible way. So establishing credit, get a credit card, even if it has to be secured, meaning basically you're borrowing your own money. That's better than nothing. Get a credit card, use it a little bit, and actually on purpose, don't pay the entire amount off 1 month, and then you will see yourself get a credit increase. Give you a case in point. When I was 17 years old, went to the University of Maryland, there was a big booth right outside the right outside of the psychology building that was Discover. And Discover was my very first credit card. So I've had that credit card now for 30 years. When I went to that Discover booth, of course, they weren't teaching you about how to manage credit or anything like that, but I just saw it as a way not to carry cash. Imagine that. I was, ahead of my time. And what I did was I just charged everything and I paid it off every month. And I think I had like a $500 or $1,000 credit limit, whatever it was. It was an enormous amount of money for me at the time, more than I ever need. I was super responsible with it. And I had this credit card for like 2 years without ever getting a credit increase. And I saw other people, friends of mine and stuff, getting credit limits. I mean, some of them had like $4,000 or $5,000 credit limit. I'm like, what do I need to do? And somebody, I wish I could give credit where credit is due. I don't remember who told me this, but they were like, don't pay it off 1 month. Just let it ride. You're going to pay a little bit of interest on it. It's a small price to pay. And they will see that you need a little bit more of a limit. And magically, because I had good credit and because it appeared to Discover credit card that I needed a little bit more credit, what they did was they doubled my limit from 500 to 1,000 or 1,000 to 2,000 or something like that. And I didn't even have to ask for it. So it was kind of an amazing thing. So what you need to do is establish good credit, be using that good credit, obviously using it responsibly, building good credit while you're getting rid of some of the bad credit and you're paying off your debts at the same time, okay? Once we get beyond that, but basically these goals right here focus around you being able to own your own home. That's our end goal. Once you own your own home, it's probably going to be a lot easier. Disappeared. It's probably going to be a lot easier for you to maintain your credit and everything like that as well. But if you ever get to the point where you own your own home and you find yourself in a world of trouble up here, it's probably good to reach out to one of us as soon as possible. Don't wait until it's too late. There are lots of things that we can do to help you if you get in trouble. But the longer you wait or the less, I know it's embarrassing, but the longer you go without telling anybody, the less choices we have for how much we can help you. But then from there, then we're talking about, whoa, that one's dead. Investing. This is the best investment you can make, but it may not pay off the fastest or be able to be used for college or this or that. Investments, your retirement. It's a good idea to get with a financial planner about that. Saving for college. Other weddings, etc. So all of those things should be things that you're considering. I actually kind of wrote these up in the order that most, I'm in the way. Sorry, folks. I actually wrote these up in the order that most financial planners recommend that you consider them. First, consider your own retirement, because when you get to be 55 years old, that's really bad time to start thinking about retiring. College would be second, because sad as it may seem to say this, your kids can handle their own college if they have to. They can work their way through school, they can get college loans. If you can help them out, that's great, but different people have different opinions about that. It's totally up to you. And then other, helping them out with buying their own house, buying their own car, with a wedding, stuff like that. Don't let your ability to buy a home or your ability to ever retire be hampered by that. And of course, there are going to be people that disagree with me on that, and they're, right in their own opinion if that's what's right for them. But this is what I'm talking about for you as a long-term plan. So I'm sorry if I bored you, if this wasn't as exciting as when Sandra is talking about dating, but I definitely wanted to talk to you guys about something that is close to my heart. We work with a lot of people in here on their credit. We work with a lot of people on helping them buy a house, and it's not always easy. Our average person does not come in here. I had John come in the other day. He was very proud of his 800 plus credit score. That's a rarity. It's not something that we see every day. We get a lot of people call us. They're like, well, my credit is 580. And really it was 540 because they were using one of those credit calculator things online, like Credit Karma or something, where it doesn't actually give you the same credit score that a mortgage company would give you. So we work with them. We turn them over to our lenders to look specifically at their credit. We don't look at their credit because, one, we don't have the ability to, and two, we're not experts in it. But they will look at your credit, they'll come up with a plan, and then we will help be there and support you every step of the way through it so you can get from bad credit to owning a home. If you already have good credit, then what are you waiting for? Give us a call. If you need any help with anything, please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me a million different ways. Facebook Messenger chat is probably not my favorite way to be reached out to because those conversations can go on forever. Just bite the bullet and give me a call, 443-226-0082. I'd be happy to talk with you, put you in touch with the right people that are smarter than I about these things and get you moving in the right direction. So anything we can do to help you, we will do that for you. Have a great day. Thanks again for checking in with us. We'll see you soon.